Welcome to the GSMC Pets Podcast, the show that caters to pet lovers of all kinds. We'll talk about pets on social media, pets doing amazing things, and how to take care of the pets in your life. Whether your pet is a dog, a cat, a llama, hamster, reptile, or something more exotic, you'll find educational and entertaining information on the GSMC Pets Podcast.
Well, hello, and thank you for tuning into the GSMC Pets Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Sam, and of course, right next to me, or right in front of me, is the best man cat ever, Eisen, as my little co-host. So, I'm hoping that all of you are doing fine. It's, both exciting and also kind of scary that a lot of the regulations to maintain the lockdown and social distancing, a lot of that's really just starting to evaporate before our very eyes. And I'm just nervous, kind of excited that I'm able to go out a little bit more without, I'll just be honest. I'm a little bit nervous. We shall see what happens in the coming future, but I do think that for the time being, I'm honestly doing pretty well, and I'm afraid of going back to work now because, just getting up early again. And I imagine that a lot of you guys are kind of like that too. The ones that at least are fortunate enough to be able to work from home. I just don't see how I'm going to be able to manage it, but we shall definitely see. And, for the time being, I've actually seen a lot of posts online about how people are getting new pets and, including them in their new family. Like, for a time, there was a lot of fostering going on, which was great. But now it's, become a foster fail kind of thing with a lot of people. And the question is, how are they supposed to introduce their pets to one another? And this is something that I'm also still trying to work through with Eisen, Cookie, and Reggie. And I figured that I may as well just share with everyone the some ways that you can start introducing your dog to dog, cat to cat. But mostly I'm just going to focus on introducing a dog to a cat that typically can tolerate other dogs. So, what we're going to be talking about, just first off, right off the bat, is going to be, well, how are you supposed to get started with this? And it takes a lot more thought than you would think. And if you don't be careful about this, there could be definitely some damage done. So, we're going to talk about the first thing, just before we even start trying to introduce them. So, then we'll actually start talking about, well, let's see if we can have like slight interaction. And I mean like very slight interaction. So then beyond that, well, doggo has to be given some basic command training. So we'll definitely get into that. And eventually, once you're past the dog knowing what they need to do and how to respond to your commands, then it's actually now pushing in the face-to-face meetings for your pets, but again, controlled. So then, after all that, you'll be able to allow your pets loose together, and we'll talk about how that looks like. So, let's get started. Now, first off, I want to start off with a story of when Eisen and Rhodey were introduced. And I have to say that it was not very well. So June or May, June. So towards the end of June, and this was when Rhodey was brought into our family. We took him in when his family was not able to take care of him anymore. And he was about 5 years old at this time. Eisen, well, you know, the granddad of everyone, no. Eisen had a little bit more experience. He had a few years on Rhodey. And, well, we, and I mostly think I was very hopeful with how Eisen has been in the past with other animals that he would take to Rhodey quite fine, and, you know, he may as well get to know what kind of dog Rhodey is when, you know, he first came to visit. Well, that was a bad piece of judgment that I made, and it was very evident that I was a very inexperienced pet owner. So, it did not go well. Eisen was angry, and to be honest, Rhodey was kind of calm for the most part. He was excited to be in a new environment, and, you know, he just wanted to smell at Eisen, but he kept a good distance away from him. Because Rhodey, from his previous family, had actually had multiple cats. So, that was a plus for us. And gradually, like, Eisen just started to get used to Rhodey's smells. He was happy about, you know, just having his own space because Rhodey knew to give Eisen space. Here's the problem with our household now. We have a grandma that is extremely stubborn, and we have a puppy that loves to play and is very excited by everything in the world. And also, well, Regina we have this internal story, like an inside story, where Regina is in love with Eisen, but Eisen does not love her back. And Regina keeps calling Eisen her husband, her boyfriend, her fiance, whatever, and Eisen just completely ignores her, or he gets upset sometimes. So there's that mixture over there. So I did a little bit of research on this, on how to introduce your pets. And I just wish that I had known more of this when I first introduced Rhodey and Eisen. They ended up having a really good, tolerant relationship. And it could have been far worse, I think, because right now we have, you know, this puppy, and Eisen is old now, so there's definitely a lot more of a challenge there. But, so, I'm on the animalhumanesociety.org website, and basically the first thing that just pops up is that you need to make sure that your cat has access to a dog-free sanctuary at all times. So, for us, this actually really works out because Eisen has this entire basement for him. And, well, this sanctuary is basically really large size for him, but there has to be like a secure door and ceiling. So I would say we have a nice little baby gate that divides up the two, and it's more of my husband and I being very aware of making sure that door is locked. But overall, this is a pretty secure place for Eisen. His space has his litter box as needed. He has a scratching post, he has water, he has food and toys accessible to him. So that's also a good thing. So, in addition to that, make sure you're cat-proofing the space by removing any poisonous plants, medicines, and any knickknacks or cords that they can get to and potentially hurt themselves or destroy some of your belongings. But we're mostly concerned about, the pet's safety there. So, another really good thing that you can start doing in the rest of the house is to set up some hiding spaces or tunnels to help the cat feel safer. And do that upstairs and downstairs. They need safe places, as basically everywhere that you can. And, I imagine that a lot of you will try to be very creative in how you do that and what it looks like. Because, well, some people really want to focus on aesthetics. And what have I said multiple times during my episodes? It's not all about you. So, absolutely, you can get aesthetically pleasing cat towers or hiding places for your cat, but you're going to pay more for it, as I basically mentioned the last 2 episodes when it came to shopping for your pets. Anytime you put a type of pet in front of a product, it's going to be more expensive. So, you have that. Now, in addition to all this, you really want to make sure that your cat is comfortable. And again, this is going like introducing your dog to your cat. So right now, Eisen is happy. Sometimes he got a little lonely, but he lost a lot of weight. He is able to explore his area a lot more, which is great. And it's getting more comfortable. We just moved into this house, I say just moved in, but it's going to be like a year that we had this house. That's pretty crazy. But anyway, just making sure that your cat can find comfortable places, that's a huge thing for the success of introducing your cat and dog together. And we get the extra bonus of having 2 dogs to get Eisen used to tolerate more. So, well, let's see, the next thing that we are going to be talking about is basically just basically heading out of the gates. Instead of, running full speed and heading to the finish line, we are going to go as slow as possible. You are facing this with not you in mind when it comes to this. So, we are going to be talking about how to basically keep your pets separate and also having some kind of interaction, which we'll get to more in just a few moments after our commercial break.
You really can't underestimate the importance of having the right creative work for your brand or your product. Whether it's a logo, a website, a book cover, or an ad campaign, you really need a quality design to make that big difference pop and deliver your overall engagement and success in a competitive market. That's where Design Crowd comes in. Design Crowd has over 750,000 designers from Sydney to San Francisco ready to help you with awesome creative ideas. They make crowdsourcing work for you. So if you need a logo or you're working on your creative branding, you can go to designcrowd.com and post a brief describing the design you need. And then within about 2 to 7 days, you'll receive up to over 100 different designs from designers around the world. Then you pick the best design and approve payment to the designer. So you're only paying for the design that you want. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of freelancing and out of crowdsourcing. And you don't have to be a huge company like Harvard Business School to use Design Crowd, although they have used it as well. You can start a project on Design Crowd for as little as $99. And if you go right now to designcrowd.com/health and wellness or enter the promo code health and wellness on their website, then our health and wellness listeners will receive up to $150 off of your design project. That's designcrowd.com/health and wellness or entering that promo code health and wellness.
Are you tired of the same old news? Are you sick of the seemingly endless political spin and negativity? The GSMC America Still Beautiful podcast is a weekly news podcast covering all the top positive and uplifting news stories. We cover stories that will inspire, uplift, and remind you of the good in the world. Tune into the Golden State Media Concepts America Still Beautiful podcast to get all the great and positive news stories of today. Download the GSMC America Still Beautiful podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Welcome back, and first of all, I forgot to mention this in the last segment, but you really, really, really have to consider the personalities of your pets, because this can either make it a much easier process, so it'll go by fast, or it can be a very slow, tedious, frustrating experience, unfortunately. But if your pets are compatible, that's great. So all that in consideration, just having everything just set up will hopefully set you up for success in this. But now let's talk about the actual process of it. And one of the first suggestions that I see for most of the websites that I've gone in the past to is keeping the pets separate at first. And usually that'll be maybe 3 to 4 days of that. We are beyond that with Reggie and Eisen and Cookie and Eisen. So we're preventing any contact until your new pet has had their checkup and has been cleared of any illnesses. That is a major thing, because you don't know what this incoming pet has, or if there's anything wrong with them. So anything like that, make sure that you do that. So you're going to confine your new pet in a sanctuary room with the door closed, or a separate floor of your house. So the goal is to not let your pets, the goal is to allow your pets to get used to each other's presence without actually seeing each other. So think of it like this. They may not be able to see each other, but they can definitely hear and smell each other. I'm almost positive, I'm positive, absolutely positive, that Eisen is very much so used to the sounds that he hears coming from upstairs. And occasionally when he comes upstairs, he can definitely smell what's going on up there too. And Regina always knows. She's always kind of aware about Eisen. So once you've gotten through this part where they're really getting used to each other, at least in the other senses, you're going to start feeding them on the opposite sides of a closed door. And, this could be, this could look like, having your cat in one bedroom and your dog just kind of outside of that bedroom door. But you're going to associate their presence, with each other as something that is pleasant. So kind of like rewarding them. It's like, hey, you smell this dog? Well, yeah, there's some food for you. This dog brings good stuff to you. So that is, and Eisen is extremely food motivated, so we need to take more advantage of that, actually. So you're going to have them like opposite sides of the closed door, and with each feeding, you're going to be moving that full food bowl a little bit closer to that closed door. So don't put it immediately right in front of the door. You're going to continue this process until they're basically as calm as possible and eating their food without any problem, and they're like right at the door. So that's a huge thing that a lot of people don't really think about. Sometimes we actually didn't have to do this with Rhodey and Eisen. Like, we always kept things separate for them. Because Rhodey sometimes got a little bit territorial with his food, and Eisen, well, he was a glutton, so he still is a little glutton. But yeah, just, it's a very slow process if you have pets that are just not compatible with each other. And one really good thing about Regina getting older as we're trying to train her to not be so excited with Eisen is that she has stopped like nomming down on her food and like when we first got her, she just gobbled everything up and she'd start coughing and you would be afraid that she's gonna choke. But no, she just was really hungry all the time. And that goes for a small puppy. And well, as she's gotten older, she's slowed down, except for her treats, because she just loves to, like, chew on stuff. And we have, like, a little, twist that she likes to eat and chew on. And most of the time, she can really get it down, but then when it gets to the very small piece, you see her trying to, like, chew as much as she can and softens it. And then, she starts trying to swallow it. And it's a scary thing for me whenever she does that. And I always want to make sure I'm there whenever she has that chew. But anyway, she has mostly calmed down so that she's eating on pace with Eisen now. And that makes things a little bit easier. And I've also noticed, so we're getting closer to probably a very successful introduction, because like Eisen and Regina can like basically sit face to face to each other between this baby gate, and basically Eisen will do his little pats and punches and Regina will do her little pats and punches very gently too, so that they're interacting in that way. So with this closed door, like ideally you have like an actual door and not a baby gate, but we're using what we can right now. And we're definitely seeing at least Eisen getting more comfortable with Regina. Now, we'll see if Regina starts to calm down, if that means that she can just sit, stay, not glare, she doesn't glare, but she just stares, like hyper-focused on Eisen. And, that's just how dogs get when they see something that really captures their attention, right? So we're basically trying to make Eisen not such a novelty for the dogs in the household. And that's kind of the goal of what you should be doing. These things are going to be here in your house, in your space, and you have to get used to it. That's at least what, your dog and cat should be having, should be getting from your messaging, pretty much. Now, we are going to be going on another break, and, well, then we're going to be teaching something that's actually really important, and this is going to be very dog-heavy, but if you also have a cat that is very open to learning new tricks, well, then, fantastic. So, we are going to take this brief break, and we will be back to talk about that.
You really can't underestimate the importance of having the right creative work for your brand or your product. Whether it's a logo, a website, a book cover, or an ad campaign, you really need a quality design to make that big difference pop and deliver your overall engagement and success in a competitive market. That's where Design Crowd comes in. Design Crowd has over 750,000 designers from Sydney to San Francisco, ready to help you with awesome creative ideas. They make crowdsourcing work for you. So if you need a logo or you're working on your creative branding, you can go to designcrowd.com and post a brief describing the design you need. And then within about 2 to 7 days, you'll receive up to over 100 different designs from designers around the world. Then you pick the best design and approve payment to the designer. So you're only paying for the design that you want. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of freelancing and out of crowdsourcing. And you don't have to be a huge company like Harvard Business School to use Design Crowd, although they have used it as well. You can start a project on Design Crowd for as little as $99. And if you go right now to designcrowd.com/health and wellness or enter the promo code health and wellness on their website, then our health and wellness listeners will receive up to $150 off of your design project. That's designcrowd.com/health and wellness or entering that promo code health and wellness.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back, and so we were just talking about the initial interaction, not a face-to-face interaction with your pets, but that initial interaction where you're basically kind of testing the waters and you're having your pets, your dog and your cats actually kind of getting used to the smells, the sounds, those kind of stuff before you start letting them just seeing each other. So, let's back up a second. We're going to focus with this as this dog that you have is still learning some tricks and hasn't really mastered many. But there are definitely some commands that are extremely important for your dog to know to make this successful. Now, the basic obedience cues are, sit and down, which are huge here. I actually watched something a while ago with this dog trainer. I need to find this information because he was actually pretty good, but he wanted to, he insisted on a few more commands that you should know, or your dog should know for this. And one is stay, of course, because who knows, maybe Eisen is going to see Regina and have these associations of Regina chasing him. Sorry, buddy, sorry. And then he'll just dart. So the major thing is, yes, stay. Here's the problem. If your dog has this real instinct to chase things that go away, you're gonna have to find another way to approach this. And one thing you can do is keep your dog on a leash while you do this, or you can continue to teach them more tricks, which is always a good stimulating thing for them anyway, so you may as well just go ahead and do it. And it's basically stay with distraction. So that's always a good thing to start off with. Now, mostly this part comes in with a person walking by, and they're going to sit and they're going to stay, or they're going to disengage with you. And actually the most wonderful thing that I learned from this, and I did learn a lot from this video, but one of the biggest things is that if you don't have your dog's eyes, then you don't have them actually focusing on you. So make sure that your dog is looking you straight in the eyes when you're giving these commands to them and when you're trying to teach them these commands, which is going to be a little difficult at first, but you know that your dog is definitely listening to you when they're looking right at you. So keep that in mind when you actually start doing more training with your dog. And so we've talked about the sit and stay with distraction. Well, you're going to go up another level. So sit and stay part 2. And you're going to find one of the most wanted toys, most beloved toys that your dog has, and you are just going to have them sit, stay, and then wait a second and toss the toy somewhere. If your dog chases after it and brings it back, well, that's all cute and stuff, but that's not what you're training them for. So you would need to redirect them and try again. And, rewarding all those times when your dog is successful. And then from there, part 3 is, this is what this dog trainer suggested. Take an empty water bottle, and when you squeeze at it, it's one of those terrible sounds. It really catches your attention though. So while you are having your dog sit and stay, you're going to wait, and then you are going to start crunching this water bottle and tossing it somewhere. That definitely will get your dog's attention. Now, when your dog actually starts understanding oh, this thing is making loud noises and rolling somewhere, I still shouldn't move, then you're getting into a really good place. Because this is anticipating the fact that your cat will try to run. And that your dog's instincts will kick in and want to chase. So keep that in mind when you're actually just kind of hoping your cat will be happy. So there's that. I'm trying to think. One of the other things too that I've started doing with Reggie, and it's basically her doing a gentle bite, which is still in the process, but whenever I give her one of her twists, actually, I have her do a series of basic tricks like, sit, come closer, and paw, right? And when we're done with that little spiel, I still have not given her a treat yet, the twist. She sits and she waits. I offer it to her and I say, be nice. And from there, either she's going to snap it away from me, or try to snap it away from me, or she's going to gently put her mouth on it, and then walk away. So I find that is a very important thing to reinforce with your pets. Just be nice. If you're going to put your mouth on something, just be very gentle. So the thing is that Eisen needs an animal to be gentle with him. And if we can just kind of bring Regina up to that level where she's able to stay with distractions going on, then that's fantastic. We are definitely almost there, I feel like. And then the problem with Cookie is that she doesn't like to listen. We almost feel like she's going deaf at this point. So we run into the issue of, well, how do we train this dog to listen to commands? Well, actually, here's the great thing. You don't have to give vocal commands. Using just symbols that you use with your hand, or gestures from your hands, is also another good way that you can start teaching your dog how to do something. And yeah, Cookie is a bit of a storm, to be honest. At this point, I honestly think she doesn't really care. I mean, treats are okay for her. They have to be soft though, or it's going to take forever for her to actually finish it. And we're still trying to find things that she's actually motivated by. It's definitely not food. Yeah, what is that dog motivated by? Well, that's going to be some homework for me. Now, one really great thing about these base commands that you're going to be teaching is going to be, short and pleasant and rewarding sessions with your dog. You're not going to do like an intense, it's not like an intense workout where the more you do and the more reps you do, hopefully the more effective the session will be. It's like, no, it's a lot of patience. And as I said earlier, it could be a very slow process. So being patient with your cat and your dog and just observing their body language will be extremely important. And all of this with introducing your dog and cat together is, body language. What is your cat's body language saying? What is your dog's body language saying? So in addition to those commands, you have to be watchful. Now, I do think that we might be a little stuck for a little bit just because, Eisen mostly likes to hang out in the basement. So and also he gets traumatized earlier in the day too and at night because we have to give him his meds. So there are a lot of other barriers, and people with kids, they might have extra barriers because maybe they have like toddlers and they're going to be very distractible, and for you and also for the dog. It's not just the dog. In this case, it does have something to do with you because your attention is going to be split. But maybe you have, another family member in the house that you're doing the training with and they're being inconsistent. And while you're giving very consistent training, a huge thing is that your dog needs that consistency or else, they're going to get a mixed message. So you want to minimize all of those chances for just misinterpretation of what you want. So, with that in mind, let's get to the more rewarding part when you actually start seeing them, like physically doing a face-to-face meeting and then just hopefully getting along. And again, how long it takes is totally dependent on your pets. It's going to also take, it might take a back seat because you need to train your dog basic commands more. So again, there's so many factors in this, and don't feel bad if it's not happening soon enough. If it's taking forever, honestly. Yeah, most things happen. It's like teaching a kid how to ride a bike. Well, depending on how fearful the kid is, how courageous this kid is, it might be like a 10-minute thing, 10-15 minute thing, or it could be months. And just, it's definitely something to consider. So patience is key in this. And now let's talk about these face-to-face meetings after the break. Okay?
Is weird, odd, strange, or just plain bizarre is really your cup of tea? Then the Golden State Media Concepts Weird News Podcast will give you that fix. Can't believe it? Well, listen for yourself as we deliver the strangest news you definitely won't find on CNN or Fox. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Weird News Podcast.
And we are back, and we were just talking about different training commands that you need to teach your dog so that this can be a very successful endeavor for you guys. Now, I will say that I was also going on about patience, and I'm going to go ahead and say patience, patience, patience for this segment because, well, you're going to have these face-to-face meetings and you're going to think, oh my gosh, they're getting along just fine. And you're going to maybe jump the gun and they won't be ready. So this is also going to require you to be slow and steady. Like slow and steady wins the race, right? So these face-to-face meetings really have to be monitored. You can't leave them alone. And you would probably do this like right around the time that your pets are, able to eat their food calmly with, next to the door, pretty much. And so this is going to mean like little play dates. Well, it's not even a play date because they're just, standing around, sniffing, getting used to each other. But you are going to do like meet and greets, and it'll be an area that is, a place for both the dog and the cat. We are not going to have Reggie come downstairs into Eisen's domain and have them introduce each other. Just introduce them to each other. And, well, that basically, comes into, well, now Eisen doesn't have a safe space because, well, a dog can come in here and they can start sniffing around and making you uncomfortable. So, for us, we're not using the basement. We are probably going to use our living room, which, I don't know. Maybe using the back patio, actually. That might be a good idea. Because both Eisen and Reggie have been there together in the past. So, now, how are you going to conduct this behavior? Well, first of all, you are going to have your dog on a leash, and you're going to let your cat do whatever he wants, basically. If he wants to leave the room, well, or go into a corner or something and just hang out, well, fine. That honestly makes me think, okay, the cat's at least comfortable enough to, like, chill out in the same room. But don't just bring your cat over to the dog and, have his face in his face, and just don't do that. Again, patience. You really want this thing to happen. I know. I really want Eisen and Reggie to get along. I most definitely want to. I want Eisen to feel comfortable in his own home. So if I try to push anything, then I might take them several steps back. So never try to get your cat to stay when he doesn't want to stay. And, well, this is another thing that is definitely recommended by the Humane Society, and that's, don't restrain your pets, any of your pets in this situation, in your arms, because there could be serious injury if either your dog or your cat start to behave aggressively. So, maybe Eisen will start, clawing at Reggie, but you might get scratched in the process. And who knows, Reggie might get, scratched up too. She can handle it, but you don't want that. You don't want to see your dog bleeding. And, well, Reggie is 60 pounds now. Eisen is 12 pounds. If Reggie started getting aggressive, that would be absolutely frightening for my little man. So you want to make sure that you use those training commands that you trained your dog on, and you are going to have them sit calmly and give them tasty treats for being calm around your cats. And for some dogs, that's a lot easier than others. You might have a very chill dog, or you might have a very fearful cat. So you want to make sure that you're also giving your cat treats as well, because, well, they need an incentive too. They need to have a good association of your dog when it comes to, like, just the environment. So having that will definitely be a really good thing to do when you are just trying. In these very short meetings, you don't want to go too hard on them again, but these short meetings should be not as stressful. Well, let's just say not stressful at all. Like, minimize the stress, or else, again, your pets are not going to want to do what you want them to do. So Reggie might get, more excited, and Eisen will just try to run away, and it's a very frustrating thing seeing Eisen run away. And we've tried doing something like this before, but like, Eisen gets very impatient very fast. He's a little cat curmudgeon. Yes, you are. Yeah. But yeah, just if he doesn't want to interact, then he will not interact. So a lot of it, and I said this a while ago, but for our case, we mostly need to take care of the behavior of the one whose behavior needs to change. And primarily that is going to be Reggie. So if there is any excessive play that is, that could be very harmful to your cat, well, then you're going to calmly distract and redirect. So it goes all the way back to the redirection that I was talking about last episode or something like that. But yeah, so your cat is going to probably be lured out of the room if they're being aggressive. Or you can also call your dog's name and reward his attention just to you instead of the cat. And remember, if you have your dog's eyes, they are definitely listening to you. So you want to make sure that you reward them when they look straight in your eyes, not when they're stopping and they're still kind of focused on the cat. So you want to definitely pay attention and reward good behavior. And that means, eventually after the face-to-face meetings, you're going to be doing just kind of guiding them away and putting them in their confined areas. And what you want to do after all this, because it's not done after one time, again, it's a process. So you need to make sure that you repeat these face-to-face sessions daily. You're going to make sure you save the pets' treats, their favorite treats, for when they are both together. If the cat attempts to leave the room, you are going to allow your cat to leave the room, and you are not going to let your dog chase them, because that's inappropriate behavior and you need to redirect. So you're going to try to end each session with basically before your pets show any stress or aggression. That is the ideal for you right now. And I would say once you got that down, well then great. Anyway, we're going to take another break, and we're going to talk about, the final step to all this. But we are going to take our brief break, and we will be back.
The Golden State Media Concepts Travel Podcast, the show that gives you advice on everything travel. We explore places you've always wanted to go, as well as giving tips for traveling in those places. We'll give you advice on the best sites for travel tips, information, and discounts. Join us as we travel the world, explore cultures, and meet new people. The Golden State Media Concepts Travel Podcast has got you covered. Download the GSMC Travel Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Welcome back. So we were just talking about having those face-to-face meetings with your pets and repeating those sessions daily, and always making sure that you are keeping in mind stress levels and aggressive levels with between your pets, basically. So now, once you feel comfortable with your pets being together without being restrained, basically when you observe that they're probably going to be getting along pretty well, this is basically going to be your instincts, so follow your instincts in this, but you're going to allow them loose in the room together. This does not mean that you take off the dog's leash. This means that the dog has a leash hanging down their side, dragging it about. And the reason for this is that you could, in case your dog gets very overexcited or a bit too aggressive, you can step on that leash and basically prevent your dog from chasing your cat. And it's going to work to de-escalate the situation between your dog and your cat. You want that to be there just in case it happens. Think of it as your safety valve or something. So if tension does erupt between these two while they're loose together, then, well, you're going to have to go back to those earlier introduction steps and repeat the process. And just, that's the frustrating part, because you want to make sure that your pets are getting along and you don't have to separate them all the time. I get it. It's frustrating. You want to have some normalcy in your household, and if you're guarding your cat against your dog or your dog against your cat, it's just a frustrating situation. I can totally get it. So, I mean, just the major thing is that you should have like a sanctuary for your cats that they can go to, and it's, no dogs allowed there. And this goes on for the future, pretty much. Like, your cat has to have some safe haven. And, well, actually, this really brings up the cat shelves that I was talking to you guys about a few episodes ago, and how frustrated I was that whenever you were looking for cat products like cat furniture or anything like that, it would just be an exorbitant amount of money. Well, for me, because, well, I'm a teacher, guys. But yeah, this kind of, my desire to have these shelves is definitely reinforced by this need. Like, even when your pets are comfortable around each other, sometimes Regina is going to get excited, and, something might get her excited, even when she gets older. So, Eisen needs to find a place where he can split real fast. So, I've been personally looking at different types of shelving situations. I'm holding off on the animal furniture, and I'm looking at like furniture that we can use in the house where he can like dip out real fast. And I have found success. I'm not sharing it with you because I don't want it to be sold out soon, because it's actually really wonderful. But just think of it as like shelving, like regular people shelving, and it's sturdy enough to hold, a cat that's in panic. And also it becomes a nice little perch for them so that they're actually able to spend time upstairs. Right, Eisen? You want to be upstairs more often, and you'll actually, with this thing, you'll have a perch. Isn't that awesome? But anyway, just, I really want that shelf now. But that's just kind of, one of those things that you can get for your cat so that they're still, again, like this safety area within the area that is for both cats and dogs. And let's see, a major thing that you want to make sure of too, and your pets are getting along, they're getting great, and I mentioned that maybe Regina was just kind of set off by some random unknown thing that she just gets excited by. And, well, then she'll try to play around with Eisen, and, well, you can't, unless you are truly trustworthy of what your cat and dog will do in different situations, which at some point you start to really catch that pattern. well, you still need to proceed with caution because, well, to be honest, like, it's always going to be a danger. Like, I mean, I freak out over Regina, like, having her twists when I'm not home. Because I'm thinking, oh my gosh, my dog will choke on this and I won't be there for her. It's, you know, it also goes into like, oh my gosh, how long is this baby gonna hold Regina? Because she's 60 pounds. So for me, I have a lot of catastrophic thinking, which to some degree is very helpful, but it also causes a lot of stress. So, you know, at some point you will have to kind of like let the reins go, and your pets will have some sort of arrangement behaviorally that will have them just be able to coexist together. But there's going to be still a lot of work without reinforcing good behavior, making sure that your cat feels safe, making sure that your cat has like an escape route if need be. So all of this is just a huge, I don't want to say painful process, but it's a huge process that you have to kind of really get used to, or else, well, man, you are in for a very stressful home environment, I guess. But, gosh, I can't even imagine just another year of Eisen just primarily down in the basement hanging out. It gets lonely up there, buddy. We just need cuddles from you. But, yeah, just for those things, you want to make sure that you proceed with caution at all times and be patient. Your cat, your dog, they may have different tolerances. You don't apply your own tolerance on these animals. You don't apply your impatience to these animals because, well, again, it's not all about you. These are living, breathing creatures that they follow their instinct and find ways to live their life to the best, to like kind of the best way that they can, right? And I mean, they're like, they have a life of leisure. I'm sorry, I was just staring at Baby Cat trying to think of, oh, Baby Cat is Eisen. Just staring at him and thinking, he looks so cute and so calm right now. I don't want to take that away from him. So, again, keep in mind those boundaries, the caution that you have to do, and just the reinforcement of good behavior. But next, let's actually talk about something that is really, really adorable. I mean, training your dog and introducing your cat is a very adorable thing, but this here is really exciting and I love it. It is essentially fundraising for pet shelters all over the country because, well, we really need it. And I've seen some initiatives by others, but this one really touched my heart. So, hang in there. We'll have our final break and, well, then we'll talk about our pets our pet shelters. I'm sorry. All right.
Want to find out what movies to go see? Then check out the GSMC Movie Podcast. It's your ticket to the latest movies, whether it's a new blockbuster event, romantic, comedy, or action flick. This show has got it all covered. They talk some what to go see now. Don't bother. What's hot on Netflix and everything in between. That's gsmcpodcast.com/movie-podcast. When it's all about the movies, it has to be this new show. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
welcome back. And we were just talking about one of the final pieces to introducing your cat and your dog to each other. And that was basically being cautious and just kind of monitoring behavior, right? And while that's all interesting and stuff, it's not very fun anymore when you start talking about those areas. So I figured we could end on a very good note, and it's going to be basically about humane societies and animal shelters getting creative with how they are fundraising, because of the coronavirus right now, we see a lot of events, like large events, being canceled. Like, for instance, the Met Gala was postponed, and let's see, what else has happened? I feel like something else has happened. But yeah, I'm thinking about all of those fundraising events and how money is not really being donated or anything to these shelters. And I think that even like the Boys and Girls Club, in different areas are struggling to get funding too, extra funding. So there are two shelters that I want to talk about, and one of them is in Hamilton County, Indiana, and basically they're doing like a America's Got Talent, but it's actually for Indianapolis's pets and their talent, which is pretty cool. And what people have to do to become a part of this is to send videos of your pets doing something that your pet would do. Like, the talent part is not exactly the important part, and talent can be different kinds of things that you wouldn't really say is talent. Like, things can surprise you, right? But, sorry, I'm thinking of this one, America's Got Talent audition, and it was these two men, these twins, I think they were twins, but they would make sound effects with their bodies. So you wouldn't expect that to be a talent, but I don't know anyone else who could do that. So it's kind of like in that area where you have just maybe normal behavior, maybe strange behavior, anything like that. But these videos are posted on social media, and people get to vote on these. But here's the catch. Your vote is where they get the donations from. And this all sounds really exciting. You want to go and, make these votes for these pets now, right? But to vote, it's $250. So, for me, I can't afford that. But there can be some people that can afford it, most definitely. But any donation is a good donation, right? I'm trying to not feel bad about not voting on this. So I think that you can still donate money without having to spend that much money, because it's based on your own means that you have. Like, you need to make sure that you have everything that you absolutely need. And then the extras, well, if you have that extra and you are willing to do that, you can send that $250 and it'd be fantastic. But I'm not saying you shouldn't go vote for these animals, because again, it's for a good cause. So just keep that in mind. You can always check it out. The story was from Indianapolis's WTHR news station. So definitely, it's accessible if you wanted to look into that. Now, the one that I actually really enjoy, and I'm so tempted at sending some pictures of my kids. And this is for pet portraits that student artists are making to raise money for the homeless animals in Espanola, New Mexico. And they have some really nice pictures already. And basically kids can really get into their creative side and just draw, color, paint, anything like that. A portrait, they can do that for a portrait for your pet, basically. Now, you still have to donate, of course. Well, I wouldn't say there's no point in doing this, but this is definitely a great way to really engage your child, especially if they're struggling with this e-learning that's going on. I don't know, has school ended for like elementary and middle schools yet? I'm really out of touch on that. But yeah, it's $15. You can send your picture of your favorite animal, which, we can't choose because we don't have a favorite, right, Eisen? And a student artist will create this custom portrait for you. So all of these proceeds are going to help homeless animals. It'll help them, the Humane Society will get like puppy replacement milk for the bottle-fed foster puppies, get bags of food, bedding, litter, anything like that so that they can continue to run. The really great thing is that it's not just going to be $15 that your picture is going to raise. It's actually going to be $30 because every dollar is going to be matched for the rest of the month of May. So, really cool thing. I would hope that maybe they can have it open to other people around the country because that's really cool. And I mean, if I just do for each of my pets, that's Eisen, that's Regina, that's Cookie, that's like $45. Well, yeah, $45 from me. And then you double that and that's $90 going to that Humane Society, which is amazing. And I mean, $90 is a lot of money to some people. So you wouldn't normally be like, okay, let me donate $90, without anything else. So anyway, it's kind of incentivizing. Well, it is incentivizing your donations and you get really cute results from it. It's like the really great thing about kids when it comes to doing their arts and that kind of stuff, they find ways to really just find just some kind of aspect of just anything and they kind of focus on it. Like for this one pet portrait, it's a sheepdog. You can't see his eyes because it's kind of covered with the fur, but the kid that made this really emphasized its wide snout and his tongue hanging out, and it's just I would love to see the original picture, but it really takes the picture really has it gives us a good idea of what this dog is probably like. And it's not super, it's not like Picasso. No. It's about students that have multi-talents, different levels of training when it comes to drawing, maybe even no training. It's just for their enjoyment so that the Humane Society gets something out of it too. Well, that sounds bad. Just so the Humane Society can benefit from it. And I think that if we were to do something like this in my area, well, I work with a high school with adults, and, well, these adults, of course, probably have kids. And there's been a lot of disadvantages for these students, and you can imagine the trickle-down effect it has on the kids and how stressful things can be for them. So this might be an amazing opportunity for the Humane Society here to take advantage of, so that they can occupy kids, have them really just not worry too much about, school and what if I die from the coronavirus, or, all of these catastrophic things that can go on in the mind of a child, especially if the child is very anxious and has a very unstable home. So I just think that this would be really awesome. But already the Humane Society in Espanola has almost 300 portrait requests. And there's around 100 students that are basically working on this at home so that they can do this for other people and so that, the animals are okay. The students are actually from area schools, but some across the country, they actually get involved there. There are some students in California and North Carolina getting involved. So I would definitely say check it out, see if you can get your family involved, and maybe even inspire some of your local shelters into doing something like this, because this is pretty nifty. So maybe this weekend I will look into this a little bit more and see if I can get a portrait, at least of Eisen, done by these kids. And well, speaking of weekend, I'm not really sure what this weekend's gonna look like. Everything's been so slow lately, and I don't really know what to do with myself anymore. I still, have my online classes that I do Zoom meetings for, and that I spend time grading and stuff. So there's always that, but, there's only so much time that you can focus when you're in your house bored. So, man, I really hope this thing is over sooner rather than later. Because I can imagine that Puppy Regina and Grandma Cookie really want to go to a dog park. So maybe I can make a dog park in my backyard. Just for them, though. So maybe that's probably what I'm going to be doing for the rest of the day, honestly. Hey, if anyone has any tips on that, I'd love it. And I just want to thank you guys for listening to the GSMC Pets podcast. And again, we were brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I would love it, and we would love it, if you would basically subscribe and leave comments and reviews, like our page on Facebook, on Instagram, and then on Twitter. We're all over in that case. And you'll see different pictures of my cats, most definitely. Well, my cat. Yeah, he's my only boy. But I'll probably, start posting more pictures of my pets because, well, that is my life right now. My pets, I see my pets more than I see my husband because he is working. He's an essential worker. So that's just gonna have to be how it is. Man. Anyway, please like, subscribe, review. We absolutely love that. We need that. And, well, I just want you guys to have a great night. And thank you.
You've been listening to the GSMC Pets Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all of the shows from the GSMC Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, from business news to weird news. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's podcast.